try to moderate the session. So we're gonna listen from Nadia Alisa and Ferhas Publishing Practices, and yeah, Omar Sami and Kanan. Yeah, I mean the other order actually, and Haled and Pınar Öğrenci. So yeah, okay. A few things which are reoccurring in this exhibition. So one is the apricot, obviously. The other thing is Edward Said's writings, and the other thing is the backbone of this exhibition is the language. So I'll try to follow up that kind of an order. I'll start with myself. There are barely words in my work. I'm better with Photoshop rather than writing. So then I'll pass the word to Nadia because she's also picking up from the idea of like cultivation, and there's a very anyway, she's going to explain more. So I'll just start with myself. So my zine is called Apricots from the Damascus Room. So Damascus Room is donated to the Metropolitan Museum in New York in 1962 by a Kayseri. So you don't hear? By a Kayseri-born Armenian archaeologist, Hagop Kevarkoryan. So his academic field is Islamic art as an archaeologist. And in 1962, he travels to Damascus, purchases the whole Damascus Room, and donates this room to the Metropolitan Museum. And so this is his story. He's born in 1872 in Kayseri. He studied in Istanbul. He went to Robert College in Istanbul. And in 1962, he donated this piece to the Metropolitan Museum. So when you exit from this room, it's actually about the Metropolitan layout. When you exit from this room, the next room is the Koç family galleries, which were donated by the Koç family. And so you'll see kind of an interface between the Islamic patterns which are from Damascus, and when you enter the Koç family galleries, obviously there are carpets and rugs and ornamented tiles and a ceiling which they are very proud of in the Metropolitan Museum. So the next door, actually you can follow from this map. So this is Damascus Room and this is the Koç families. And as you try to exit, you can get smashed as an apricot. But if you take the stairs, then you reach the ancient Greek alley. So this is where the ancient Greek sculpture monuments and their broken heads are. And so it's basically, it's kind of obvious that, the Metropolitan Museum layout is also a reflection of the roots of the roots of the apricots as they come from Damascus to Istanbul and to the west. And also it's the same paths of the refugees that are trying to escape from Damascus Room. And so this is the ancient Greek alley, and if you can survive this part, then you can reach out to Central Park, and you're in the west. So these letters on the right-hand side are the genetic code of the Prunus armeniaca, which is a particular, but 80% of the apricots are classified as Prunus armeniaca. And I work with a genetic research center in Piscataway, New Jersey. And of course, when you try to make all the genetic code, it takes pages and pages. So I work with a genetic research person, and we try to figure out one particular gene sequence which meant to help the apricot to survive in a different environment. It's about the immune system of the apricot. So basically, this is the story of the apricot as it's trying to escape from Damascus Room and to the Turkish border, to the Greek border, and to the west. In the meantime, as I'm traveling and making these close-up pictures of the patterns and artifacts in these rooms, I also try to recreate. So, for example, in this one, you can see at the Metropolitan Museum, they in 1960s, they tried to restore these tiles with a pencil, literally with a pencil and a ruler. They tried to complete the missing pieces. So I tried to do the same with a JavaScript, which will automatically create these Islamic patterns. So as you basically follow out this story, there's also a level of abstraction to abstract art to representational art throughout these things. So basically, there are 3 layers of geographical, geopolitical transitions, and there are 3 layers of algorithmic representation of the museum itself, of the artwork itself and the apricot itself. So with this, I think I can pass the mic to Nadia Lisa, because her work is also about a similar botanical idea. And I'm not going to introduce biographically, you can, yeah.
So just to start off and introduce myself really briefly, I'm currently a PhD student at MIT. I'm studying history and anthropology of science, technology, and society. And I'm kind of interested in pursuing different formats and contexts to present my research in. So my contribution for Apricots from Damascus extends from my general interests in how politics becomes naturalized through its description, using natural terminology or terms derived from nature, and inversely how nature is politicized through its description using political terminology. For instance, what does it mean when we imagine our attachment to our national origins as roots, or when we speak of refugee crises as germinating, and more derogatorily, sorry, I always get hung up on that word, of refugees as in need of being weeded out? Why does discourse on identity, belonging, and displacement draw from the plant kingdom? And how does identity become figured as a result? And what are the implications of this figuration? Both the zine, of which this is the cover, and the installation that I'm presenting in Istanbul explore established connections between identity and plants, as well as encourage connections that they try to establish on their own. In short, I'm trying to consider how plants have been and can be drawn upon linguistically, metaphorically, and literally in order to understand human experiences of rootedness and uprootedness. The zine consists of 2 parts. The first part is a glossary of 20 terms, including words like naturalization, diaspora, native, and alien, that are used in both identity and botany speak. Almost all of these terms, like indigenous, have distinct but related meanings in both fields. Many of the terms with meanings in the field of identity originate, in fact, from the botanical. A few terms, like cross-pollination, are strictly botanical, but have become associated with identity as a result of their usage. So the entries are kind of structured like they would be in a dictionary. Each entry has its dual meanings presented, as well as information about the term's origins. And the origins are included to highlight the relationship of how these terms' 2 meanings developed over time, how they're interconnected. So I'm just going to give an example to make this more concrete and specific. Take the noun culture, which is the first one that's presented there. Its first meaning is the ideas, customs, and social behavior of a particular people or society. And its second meaning is the cultivation of plants. The word originates from Middle English, where it denotes a cultivated or developed piece of land. The noun is in particular from the French culture, which in turn comes from the Latin cultura, which means growing or cultivation. In late Middle English, culture was used to refer to the cultivation of soil. And in the early 16th century, its meaning then became extended to include the cultivation of the mind, faculties, or manners, or what we know culture to be today, basically, at least in the realm of human society. The second part of the zine is a step-by-step how-to guide for cross-pollinating 2 plants from different species in order to produce a hybrid. Cross-pollination, a process that occurs both naturally and as a result of human intervention, is treated here as a metaphor for the merging that results from both voluntary and involuntary immigration. In its origins as a rudimentary magazine that's put together by amateurs, the zine is a perfect format for presenting such a do-it-yourself directive. Its kind of communitarian significance, moreover, endows it with a grassroots political potential, a potential that resonates with my treatment of planting and cross-pollinating in specific as an act with productive and potentially subversive implications. Cross-pollination, after all, produces new possibilities that run counter to the status quo of stasis that's affected through border lines, rigid immigration policies, and xenophobia. And just to give you a sense of how it is kind of formatted. Each of the steps in the guide is accompanied by a diagram that serves to clarify the cross-pollination process and also facilitate its implementation. So you can actually cross-pollinate yourself by following the steps. As for the exhibition, I decided to hone in on the metaphorical power of particular species of plants. The installation, which I'm presenting here, is called Cultivating Exile, and it presents a garden of 8 plant types. Each plant was chosen because of particular meanings that have been or have become associated with it and that are relevant to the experience of exile. I've included here, so this is another view, and I've included here a selection of some of the plants that make up this garden and the significances that are attached to them. Among these are the cactus, which you see, it's the first one, and that has come to stand for endurance in the face of hardship. Rosemary, which corresponds to remembrance and is considered a memory aid. Chrysanthemum indicums that act as emblems for sorrow. Aloe vera plants that have become affiliated with healing, and their flowers in particular are linked with grief. And cyclamens that correlate to farewells and are often given to someone who's moving away. The garden is accompanied by a sound piece that's in 8 parts, and each part is dedicated to one of the plants and narrates information about the plant's taxonomy, its distinctive biological features, its geographic distribution, its name's origins, and kind of the history of how these particular meanings became associated with it. And I'm going to conclude. Here's another close-up. I'm going to conclude. Oh, no. There's the last slide's not there.
Rosemary for remembrance.
Okay.
Rosmarinus Officinalis, commonly known as rosemary, is a woody perennial herb with fragrant evergreen needle-like leaves and white, pink, purple, or blue flowers. It is native to the seaside regions of North Africa and the Mediterranean. Rosemary is a member of the mint family Lamiaceae, which includes many other herbs. The name rosemary derives from the Latin ros, which means dew, and marinus, which means sea, or dew of the sea. Hence the ancient legend that rosemary grows where one can hear the sea. Dew of the sea is also a likely reference to the shimmering flowers that cover the rosemary bush in midwinter. In mythology, it was said that rosemary was draped around the Greek goddess Aphrodite when she rose from the sea. Historically, rosemary has had a reputation for improving memory and has been associated with remembrance. Students in ancient Greece wore garlands of rosemary around their necks or braided it into their hair to improve their memory during exams. Others would place it in their pillow the night before to enhance memory during sleep. In ancient Egypt, rosemary was placed in the tomb to remember the dead, used in the bouquets of funeral flowers, and even utilized in the embalming practices of the time. Early Europeans also commonly threw sprigs of rosemary into graves as a symbol that the dead would not be forgotten. The tradition of tossing rosemary sprigs into the grave did not end in England until the 19th century.
So that was just an example of
rosemary for remembrance.
That was just an example of one of the sound bits, the sound bit that accompanies rosemary, and you can hear the others in the exhibition upstairs.
So we met with Omar, Kenan, and Sami just last night, actually. We have been corresponding like for 3 months. And I have to say we found their work very randomly on a blog, and we found out their website, and the moment that Dilek sent me the link to their website, we said, yeah, okay, so these are the people that we're looking for this exhibition. So for 3 months we have been on Skype, we have been on email, and finally last night we met face to face, really. And I think it's better if I just let them introduce themselves. They're coming from Berlin. And yes, but you know, one thing is important, maybe because I need to remind like all the time, but there's a few reoccurring themes, and one is the apricots and the botanics and how it basically, you know, cross-border with the families. But another very important, which you know, component of this exhibition, in pretty much all the works you can see Said's influence, Edward Said's influence. So they basically made a very direct reference, academically also working on Edward Said's writings.
Thank you, Atif, and thank you, Dilek, for inviting us to this exhibition. Yeah, so I would just repeat Sami, Kinan, and me, Omar. I will speak a bit more about our work and about Ferris. Maybe just some words about Ferris publishing practices. We are a publishing house and artist collective. We are researching in the history and the present of publishing in the Eastern Mediterranean and North Africa. And also we are dealing with publishing as a curatorial and artistic practice. Just to talk a bit about our work in the exhibition, which is two-part. It's a folder and 14 pages from an index of terms that Sami later will talk about. So our work is basically a few months ago we started to work in or to research on a phenomena we've called the change of the Arabic cultural language. We were motivated by our interest in language generally, and especially the Arabic language, and our interest in book publications or art publications from the East, issued by Arabic culture institutions. So, so in the beginning, we had just the feeling that the language is changing in a way in the Arab cultural context, but we didn't really couldn't really describe this phenomena. So we started to move rather from this kind of impression to more to a concrete thing. So we started the research about this topic, and we do a project. As you might all know, in the 90s, since the 90s, there is a movement in the cultural practices in the Arab world. That might have many reasons. One of the important reasons is, for example, the growing interests of the West in the of art coming from the Middle East after 9/11, and also, for example, the expansion of the global art and that made the mobility of artists and culture producers easier from the region. I mean, around the world. And the art institutions, of course, the rise of Arabic cultural institutions in the 90s, and the funding that started to be flooding in the cultural sectors, especially in the Gulf regions. So all of them were reasons that maybe, yeah, make this kind of speed up this kind of artistic movements. So back to the language and to our projects. We started since our research. We started to observe the language that is used by Arabic culture institutions. For example, their newsletters, their introductory texts. For example, their exhibition texts and projects that's produced for projects, especially the publication that issued by this institution, which language is coming up of this institutions. So so we started to observe this publications, and we in the end we decided to make a collection, to make an archive of these publications for contemporary book arts. This is like. We have look at this publication and another one. So while we observing this publication, we were observing very strongly that most of these publications, if we don't want to say all of these publications, are bilingual publications. So so bilingual, it means like on the one side you have the Arabic, and the other side you have the English one. In the last example, it was like in the same page. And this kind of strategy repeated in the. You can see it on the form of the books, and also on the content of those books. So even if we were trying to analyze this nature of language, so we always come across like unfamiliar sentences, unfamiliar phrases in Arabic, and we started to ask ourselves: is it like a matter of translations? Or of translation, what does it mean to say معين بالإشارات in Arabic? Like, for example, indicated by signs, which now translated معين بالإشارات. So we're trying to ask ourselves, what does it mean? Those kind of mirroring in language, for example, as you see in these examples. And then, yeah, these kind of examples lead us to raise some questions about about the language itself. Is it kind of could we talk about democratization in language, democracy in languages, or is it the strategy of bilingualism, kind of a strategy of, could we call it as a strategy of equalization? What does it mean, this effect of producing this mirroring in language? Also, is it a kind of a power of a language over another one, a culture over another one? What does, could we just also say or observe that as an attempt to create a contemporary Arabic cultural identity, or is it a kind of a way to be a part of a global identity that avoid differences, and having a similar language? So that was one of our questions that we were raising about the language in this work. So I don't know if some of you have seen the work. Upstairs, it's divided in two parts. We have the folder, which is this one. We decided to take a part of our archive and put it in a folder, and it consists of 22 book covers from art publications from issued by our cultural institutions, and we add to each cover a page that contains the information about the imprints. For example, what is the occasion of this of the issuing this publication? Also, who are the curators, the artists who are funded, who funded this project, which institutions, which cities. So you'll find it always in front of each cover. And then we put another historical experience in front of this folder, which is the index of terms of, that will Sami maybe explain more about.
Yeah, as you said, like, okay. As you said already, like index of terms, which is like a similar historical experience. Index of terms, it was created by Kamal Abu Deeb. He's a Syrian translator and poet. He decided like to translate Orientalism, the book of Edward Said in 1981. Kamal Abu Deeb was aiming to represent the discourse of Orientalism as it was written in English in the same way in the Arabic language, and he faced like a problem in finding like same terms and same vocabularies or same words in the Arabic language. So he followed the strategy in creating new Arabic terms, like bringing old words and putting it in a new context, but also creating totally new words. And he tried to explain it and attached like rules to the introduction of the translation of Orientalism. Yeah, the index of terms, it's like 14 pages, and yeah, it is 14 pages, and it consists of 3 columns, as you can see. So the first one, which is the English terms, and in front of it or facing it, the Arabic terms that was created partly by Kamal Abu Deeb, and in the middle there's like explanations of these new words, new Arabic words. Yeah. So this is the index of terms. In our work, at the end, we decided like to put the index of terms in front of these bilingual art publications, trying to ask ourselves about like what do these experiences share, and what does like their comparison shows us. I did it shows us. And also, what is the role of the language in creating cultural identity? And of course, like the main question for us as a publishing house, like could publishing considered as a strategy works actively in developing the Arabic language? Like, we invite you please to have a look on the folder and the colorful pages of index of terms upstairs. Yeah.
You're done, right? Okay. And thirdly, we're going to hear from Khalid Barake. So we have a long history. We know each other for 2 weeks. So we actually reach out to his work on a book called Syria Speaks, I think, which is in the South Library now also. And actually, he was one of the he was in the end of the book, and his work is regarding the pain of others and Damascus. Yeah. So I mean, there were like maybe 15 Syrian artists in the book, and the book came to our attention at a bookstore opening in Washington, the Bus Boys and the Poets. And it was like a nice bookstore cafe, and they said, "Oh, you'll be interested in books," and I was interested in the book. And then we found with Dilek, and we went through all the artists, and we decided to reach out to Khaled because his work was not really about the war itself, or it wasn't about the, you know, it was kind of maybe an ironic title. It wasn't about the pain really, but it was about his future experience. So that's why we wanted to invite Khaled to the exhibition, and he can tell more. Yeah.
So, hi everyone, my name is Khaled Bareke, I'm from Syria. I don't like to say I'm Syrian artist, I'm artist from Syria because, I mean, especially in the last 4 or 5 years, there was like become trend things to be Syrian artist. I was invited to Northern Ireland actually. There was an open call to do a project about the conflict. I don't know if you are aware of it or not. This image specifically, it's from Belfast, but I mean, if you, like for those who don't know about it, the same kind of fight between sects, Sunna and Shia, so they have the same thing historically between Protestant and Catholic. It's not there anymore, but you can still feel it. So I was there twice. I was once in a kind of research trip, and the other time I did the production. The first time I was there, I was really, really astonished by this division they still have after this years. So this you can see, for example, this kind of historical anthropology of the wall, and this is dividing two neighborhood, Protestant and Catholic. So you see, like they built at first the first layer, which wasn't, like people kept jumping, so it wasn't enough, so they built the second and then the third, and kept throwing whatever on each other, then they built the fourth and the fifth, so it becomes like really huge now. So you find this division in everywhere, and I was invited specifically to a city called Derry, if you are Catholic, and Londonderry if you are Protestant. So I was really amazed by this from the very beginning. How can a city has two names? How can we live together if we both have two different understanding of our place? And I actually accepted the invitation because I thought it will be, I was very interested about Northern Ireland because I thought it might be the future of Syria, right? Like because this division between groups and sects and so on. So I went there and I found this sculpture. It's made by a local sculptor called Maurice Harron. It's called Hands Across the Divide, and it's actually located in Derry in the middle of the two parts. So imagine Derry as a circle, and you have the Foy River dividing the two parts. Here you have the Protestant, and here you have the Catholic. Like it's clear. I mean, there's some guys living on the other side, Protestant living in the Catholic, and they know them by name. I still, like, I live in Germany since now 5-6 years. I don't know the name of my neighbor still, really, in my building. So I was amazed by this. And I found these two guys in the middle of this bridge, kind of, in, like each guy, this guy, the Maurice Harron, the sculptor, he was commissioned to do this work 25 years ago to kind of talking about the hope coming to the island, blah, 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 in my opinion. Because it's still like if you go there, I think people they really even like their conflict because it becomes a little bit touristic. Like a lot of tourists they go now to investigate or they are curious or whatever. So there's a lot of culture about the conflict, and it's still there between the people. Anyway, so I found this two guys, and I was in the middle. As you can see, there's one guy represent. Each guy is represent each group because it's like in the middle of the bridge, or the main bridge actually. So I thought first, what do I want to do? I thought actually these two guys, it's the perfect explanation or presentation actually of the recent situation in Northern Ireland. Two groups, two guys facing each other all the time. They are about shaking hands, but they don't really reach each other. So the first thing I thought to do is to push one guy toward the other and make them touch or shake hands and leave the island, and that will be the work. But as you see, I mean, it's very complicated because like you see, it's yeah, it was impossible. So what I decided to actually to capture the gap in between the two hands, which is like kind of visualizing the divide. So first I invited Maurice, the original the sculptor who made the original sculpture, to work with him. I thought it would be nice to include him, but it wasn't so precise, and I wanted exactly the space between the hands. So then I hired 3D scanning company from Dublin. They came, actually I was disappointed at the beginning. I mean, it cost a lot of money. And they came with, I thought they would come like with big car and they were like a huge machine, like scanning such a big sculpture, whatever. And they came with a tripod and bag, like a handbag. But it's amazing, really. I was amazed by this. I mean, they use this to scan city in general. So they scan it and they give me the material on the computer. I sculpture the space in between the hands and the computer, and then printed 3D, and then I made a cast out of the 3D and make it ceramic at the end, which you can see now in the library. It's in the middle. I don't know if you have seen it or not. So I thought, in a way, like just to make kind of the invisible visible, so people will be aware of this gap when they see it. Like it's kind of materializing this distance, because sometimes, like if we want to express our emotion or our love to someone we like, or whatever, boyfriend, girlfriend, so we buy gifts, right? Like we put our emotion into something material, and that's why this piece called actually materialized distance. So this, this is the work from the other side, which exactly, as I said, very precise. And by coincidence, I have to say, like in general, I'm a very lucky artist. I get really a lot of gifts into the project, and that was one of it. By scanning this, the way they do it, they like if they want to scan me, for example, they put the camera here, then here, then here, like in different positions, and then they can give this 3D information into 2D JPEG image, as you can see. I mean, this is like 360 degrees panoramic image. So if you close the image in itself, it will make perfect continuation. So every time they change the position of the camera or the scanner, it suggests a new position for the two guys as well. I mean, this lines, it's a scaffolding we built to reach the sculpture because it's up high. Yeah, I love this one because it was rainy, so we covered the sculpture with this thing, and it was like a nylon plastic cover, and it was shaking a little bit, so it was recording even the shakes of this. And the whole project, actually, it's called The Shake. Talking about this because like shaking hands, of course, and shaking someone. And actually, someone told me they have a secret shake hands. So the Protestant to know each other, they were shaking hand and like doing something with the finger to it. So it's like kind of like we know each other, you know. And that's why actually it's called The Shake, the project. I presented this in different places. This was one of it in MMK Museum in Frankfurt. And you can see like the right wall was kind of mirrored photographically in the left wall. So everything wasn't on the wall from the right. It was photographed and printed and put on the second wall. Outside there was advertising column. So I printed the photo, and so kind of bringing the 2D into 3D again. On one hand, they are trying to reach each other, but on the other hand, they have like kind of their back to each other. So it's kind of creating this frenemy situation, like friend-enemy situation. 1 minute? Okay. Do you want me to talk about the other one? If you want. Okay, so there was actually, when I was invited to the exhibition, when I read the title of the email, I thought, no, I'm not going to participate, like mush min Dimashq, but Apricots from Damascus, because I'm very aware of this trend in the art world, like, you know, like with Syria in case now it's like everywhere. But when I read actually the email and the description, I was really amazed by the concept, and thanks for the invitation, guys. So, and there was like kind of two works they were thinking to involve in this exhibition, and at the end we chose this one. But there's this other one. It's called Signami, and it's actually a text. So first, I was invited to Limerick in Ireland to participate in an exhibition, talk about migration. That was a long time ago. It was before all this wave of refugees and so on. So. I mean, of course, like migration, it doesn't need to be physically. I mean, it can be through culture or book or translation or whatever. And in this case, I decided actually to work with something with the language, because there's all the time in a personal experience. When I arrived to Denmark, I did my first master in Denmark before I moved to Germany. I really like literally could speak 5 words in English, like hello, my name is Khalid, thank you, bye, and that was it. So I learned the language, but I struggle with it. Like everyone was sitting in the room and listening to the lecture. I was sitting there with my dictionary just to know like what does this word mean and so on. So anyway, I decided to start I decided to work with this language thing. And the Arabic English keyboard in the computer, I think the Arabic user, they know this. We have like the two languages, right? Like the 2 letters, the Arabic and the English. The only letter which it matched between the 2 letters is the S. So like for example, you have the M in English and the M in Arabic. It's in 2 different buttons. So the only one actually it matches is the S. So I decided to take this one as an example. I put it in the middle of the print, as you will see, and I took a really nice story by a Lebanese writer called Hassan Daoud. It's called Aluminium. I recommend you to read it. I translated from Arabic to English in a professional translating company or certificated translator, and then I went to another company with the new edition and translated again from English to Arabic, then to the 3rd one from Arabic to English. So back and forth 5 times. So the whole story kind of shifted from one part to another. And then I placed this S bottom in the middle to remind, like, my reference. I mean, I made this spiral kind of story, like it started from outside and then go inside, and it's kind of reminds me of Kaaba and like Mecca, and you know, like how, I don't know if you see this image, that was like very personal reference of the visual of it. And then the last action I did, I deleted all the S's from the text. So there was like another layer of shifting as well. So like she become he, for example, when you read it. I think I'm already, yeah.
Maybe we'll have time for questions. Yeah. And finally, I'll pass the mic to Pınar Öğrenci. I mean, Pınar's contribution is very vital to this exhibition, because when I first started thinking about, okay, everybody's telling me about the Syrians flooding to Istanbul, but if there are 2 million people, there needs to be some artists also. I mean, at least statistically, there needs to be artists in these 2 or 2.5 million people. But I never heard stories. It was part of the small talk. Like when I had artist friends visiting from Istanbul to New York, I would ask them, "Don't you meet any like Syrian artists in Istanbul?" And they would say, "Well, not really." Or I had a dancer friend who was back and forth between New York and Istanbul. He was like, "Yeah, there are a lot of like Arabic people out on the street, but we never met an Arabic speaking dancer, or we never met a dancer from Syria." But only when I read Pınar's journalistic piece on Art Unlimited and then Radical newspaper, I came to the conclusion that this will be a valid matter to bring up. And I think she's going to tell more about both the journalistic piece that she initiated in Istanbul, and also her new work that she, I mean, we couldn't really commission, we don't have money, but she basically made a new work for this exhibition.
Thank you. First of all, I would like to say thank you to Atif and Dilek inviting me for the exhibition. Maybe you know I was arrested in Diyarbakır like 5 days ago during our walk, which called "I'm Walking to Peace." And they accused us using bombs and injuring 5 police. And I'm happy that I'm here today. And thank you. And I would like to say thank you for all the artist community, and here or also outside of the country. They supported us too much. Yeah, I want to talk about my 2 work here. First of all, I want to talk about Zin project. It's about Syrian artists in Istanbul. At the end of 2014, we were talking about Syrian people in Istanbul with my editor from Art Unlimited. And we asked ourselves, there must be some intellectuals and artists in the city. And I decided to write about them, to search about them, and found 5 artists in Istanbul first. And I decided to invite them to my atelier for the dinner, to have chance and to talk all of them together. And we also invited, I also invited some translators to the dinner. We were so very crowded actually. And after this dinner, they invited me to Syrian dinners and some birthday parties, and we became friends. And during 2015, I always connected with them, and 3 of the artists had to move Germany because they had problem earning money, connecting artist community in Istanbul and reaching health facilities in the city, and they had to move. Now they are in the different cities of Germany, and they are trying to learn English. Now we are still in contact. For the Zine project, I used first page of my text, which about Syrian artists, which was not published in the magazine because they had a limited page, and they cut my first page, which I like it more actually. And for the Zine project, I decided to use first this first page, and and make a summary of the text, and also I tried to update this text. Yeah, if I want to talk about another project of mine, which called LED Light City Istanbul. LED Light City video installation exists on 9-screen video, but here we use 5-screen on the top of the main door of SALT. And I worked on 9 different neighborhoods in Istanbul where Syrian people mostly live and use for shopping or entertainment facilities. I started with Yusuf Pasha because it's full with Syrian people. There are many restaurants, shops, and cafes. It's like it's really look like a Syrian neighborhood now. And then I search about Fatih and Laleli. They are most more conservative areas, districts. And then Taksim and Nişantaşı, and these neighborhoods using by more middle or high class Syrians. I started to work for this project actually in 2014, and this digital text technologies has just been started to use by shops in that time. And I was making some notes. You should go this district, and you should take this one. And I collected like 40 or 45 texts from these 5 different districts. And I did only one screen with 45 different shots. And during these 2 years, I noticed that number of these texts on the facade of the buildings growth. At the beginning, they were just in Turkish actually, all the texts. But now they are not only in Turkish, also in Arabic, English, and Russian. And Arabic countries using this technology is too much. For advertisement. I think it's related with their relationship with text and image. And of course, text is more important, more using than image in these countries. In this work, I try to search about how immigration is affecting the shape of the cities, architecture, and trade. It's also about text and language and text and city, also architecture. And at the end of 19th century, Istanbul city and 19th century and beginning of 20th century, it was the city was full with full with tabelas, signboards in different languages, like Ottoman, Greek, Armenian, and English, etc. And after 1923, when Turkish Republic set up, the alphabet changed, and Ottoman language is forbidden. And then in 1924, using architectural text on the facades is forbidden, and some of them took over. And now we are at the first period of 21st century, after 100 years, and city is full with different languages again, but it's not about westernization project. It's about war. Yeah, it's like that.
So I think Pınar's work justifies our endeavor, both in the beginning and at the end. In the beginning, because she had the idea of, if there are 2 million people, there will be some artists also, so she wanted to reach out to them. And second, at the end also it justifies, and when you leave the show, you see all these like Arabic written, like reverse flowing LED screens. So a few times with the journalists, they ask like, why do you make the show in Arabic? But probably they don't ask the same question to the kebab shops or to the, sweet shop sellers, right? It's so obvious why they make it in Arabic, the sign. So it's also very obvious for us to, include this trilingual production. So, okay. So yeah, maybe we can more chit chat after the third panel. We have a refreshment session, and so we can just maybe socialize more in that part. Thank you.